Hi, I'm Jaine Fenn, and I'd like to read you the opening of Broken Shadow, which is the second book in the Shadowlands duology. The charge, intoned the Cardinal, is heresy. Rhia Harlyn met Marsan's gaze. Right. She'd known this day might come, but not yet. It was too soon. I see. Can you be more specific, Your Holiness? Cardinal Marsan looked down from his high-backed chair. Rhia had last been in this small private courtroom 2 years ago for her brother's trial. She'd hoped never to see it again. Heresy is heresy, he said, with a sniff. If she sighed, the Cardinal might hear. The 2 guards behind her and the young clerk sitting to one side certainly would. So she inclined her head as though accepting this idiocy as wisdom and said, Of course. Yet I have a right to know the details of the charge against me in order to prepare my defence. The Cardinal's left eyebrow twitched, as though expressing his outrage at the idea that there was a proper defence against heresy. You have proposed, against all common sense and, more importantly, against the teachings of the first, that the world is not at the centre of the universe. Damnation. But what else could it be? The Church might not approve of the natural inquirers, but it tolerated them if they kept quiet. She had been betrayed. Well, the wretched man wanted an answer. Should she lie? Feign ignorance? No, her words were being recorded by the clerk. Lying now could make things worse later. She drew a deep breath and said, Yes, I am indeed working on a theory that rather than the sun and all the stars going around the world, our world and certain other celestial bodies go around the sun. Preposterous. Rhia clenched and unclenched her jaw. It would be if the world was flat, yes. So you also propose that the world is not flat? Actually, she'd got that from the writings of Watcher of Vault, but she was not about to break the Inquirer's code, even if someone else had. I do, yes. That is indeed a heretical concept. And did you come up with this theory all by yourself? I'm not sure what you mean, Holiness. I know you're unmarried, but perhaps a man of your acquaintance proposed the concept to you? Now Rhia did sigh. Then she made herself take a fresh breath and force a smile before replying. Were you thinking of any man in particular, or merely commenting on the general inferiority of the female mind? It is a reasonable question. The Cardinal's icy tone froze her ire. No, this theory is all my own. Really? Marsan sniffed again. Yes, really. She could feel her voice rising. With respect, Cardinal, I do not believe that the relative locations and movements of the sun and stars are explicitly stated in the scriptures. Had she been given any notice, she might have researched this, but the pair of militiamen sent with the summons had been instructed to bring her straight to the palace. And you are an expert on the scriptures, are you? A tremor of tension danced down her spine. Of course not, Your Holiness. She swallowed. If there is such a passage, please, tell me. Just put me out of my misery, she thought, because if I really have contradicted the scriptures, I may as well burn my papers now. Despite the close heat of the small room, her blood ran chill. The Cardinal held up a finger. The first, in his wisdom, felt no need to impart such a self-evident truth as the disposition of the heavens. Rhia let herself breathe. Then I would humbly suggest that this interpretation of the skies might not go against the Church's teachings. It is not for you to interpret the will of the first. No, that's your job, she thought. A light-headed and inappropriate sense of relief was settling on her. She, and more importantly her work, was not doomed. But the Church still had a case. She kept her gaze low and took a deep breath before replying. My apologies, Holiness. I spoke out of turn. So you did. Now that you've formally heard the charge, I will confer with my fellows and set a date for your trial. Trial? Of course there'd be a trial. Yes. Do not think your status will protect you, Countess. I never do. I put my faith in the truth. The Cardinal shook his head slowly, his eyes narrow. We will inform you of the process in due course. You may go. Her heart heavy in her chest, Rhia turned away. The 2 militia guards stood aside to let her pass. As soon as she was back in the corridors of the palace proper, she accosted a footman. I must speak to the Duke at once. Despite her foolish words to the Cardinal, She intended to use every advantage her position gave her. The footman's alarm might have been comical in other circumstances. I do not know where his grace is at the moment, Countess. The servant knew who she was, of course. Everyone at court knew of the eccentric noblewoman with the quarter mask. Then find him. But even if she managed to locate Francine, he might not grant her an immediate audience. Find him and tell him that I and my work are in danger, and I need to talk to him. I'll be at my house. You understand the message? Yes, my lady. Good, thank you. Now, off you go. Outside, evening was creeping across the city, cooling the hot, dry air. The streets were empty, though Rhia caught faint sounds of commotion from the lower city. There was often a commotion in the lower city these days. Back home, she'd just put a foot on the stair when the kitchen door opened and Marcave emerged. Is all well, my lady? Not really. Sometimes she wanted to confide in her steward, no matter how appropriate that might be. It's nothing you need to worry about, though. If you're sure, will you want supper in your study? Please. She could not remember the last time she'd eaten in the townhouse's grand dining room. Halfway up the stairs, a black and white streak darted out from the landing. Rhia leaned down and scooped up the cat. Got you. The furry bundle squirmed in her grasp, purring all the while. You know what, Yithy? The cat favoured her with a blank golden stare. Some days, I wish I was a cat. Thank you.